Alright, so it's kind of been hinted at in the last couple days what this next fictional video is on my channel. If you've been paying attention to my channel, see what I've been uploading, it's fairly clear cut what this next one's going to be. But if you haven't been watching, well then be prepared, because we're taking a dive into another fictional characters implemented in D&D 5th edition, or fictional characters in D&D. This time though, it's more of a lineage than just one character. You got that right, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking the Belmont family. Let's hop in. So as I said previously, I'm going to be ranking how difficult these builds are and if builds are using feats. Warning, this build requires heavy uses of feats. Taking at least 2 feats is what I recommend. That being said, if your DM does not allow feats, this build is still playable, but it is slightly more gimped than before. Last but not least though, ranking this build. I rank this build easy on my scale, that it makes it a difficulty of 2 out of 5 on playing and in role-playing. It's not that hard of a build to play, and it's not that hard of a build to roleplay. That being said, there's still a little challenge to it. So, those out of the way, let's hop into the character. So the big question before we start this is, which Belmont is this based off of? Is it Trevor Belmont? No. How about Simon? Simon's a pretty good choice. But once again, no. How about Richter then? Once again, we gotta say no. It's really based off of any of the Belmont heirs. Any of the lineage of the Belmont family, boy or girl, can be the choice here. And that's why this build is a little more flexible than the last. But once again, you'll be starting off as a human. Not just any human though, my favorite of the races, variant human. On top of that, your background will be one of 2 things, depending on how you want to build the character. If you want it to be before Simon Belmont's time, I recommend you take the Acolyte background. Acolyte because they are huge members of the church and were only really banished from the church when they started doing good and killing Dracula. But until that time, they were massive members of the church and everyone loved them. So Acolyte's a pretty good choice. However, the other option is Folk Hero. And that's because the Belmont family name, after Simon, was renowned and loved by many. So you take that folk hero background, and the people love you. You're a man with great ambitions, ready to save the world. So then, it goes on to, well, what class would we be? And that'd be a fighter. And I'll show you the stats as to why. Oh, D&D, how I love your stats. Let's rapid fire this. So once again, using point buy, you can roll it if you want to, and you can base it off of this, but I personally, for the build's sake, will only use point buy. So let's hop into that. First off, for strength, it's going to be 15. It's going to be the highest it can get with point buy. Same with our dex, that'll also be 15. Constitution will then be 13. Intelligence will be 8. Wisdom will be 12. And Charisma will be 8. And my reasoning for that is while Intelligence and Charisma are important stats, Intelligence and Charisma really don't fit the Belmont name. The Belmonts tend to fight by themselves, shrugging off help. The only person who really accepted help was Trevor and Julius Belmont. Everyone else just kind of said no. I mean, Richter was forced to accept help, and Richter did have a little help, but for the most part, they went on their own. So they don't really have high charisma. And high intelligence, not that good either. You don't need to be the smartest man alive to fight monsters, because you've been trained your whole life to do it. So your wisdom will be a little higher, because you know how to use that knowledge right. And 8 intelligence is not bad, by the way. Yes, it is technically a -1 in the stat pool, but it's not bad. And our strength and dexterity and constitution need to be high if we're going to be a Belmont person who's always on the battlefield by themselves. On top of this, our racial bonus points, we'll get 2, will go into dexterity and constitution, making our dexterity a +3 modifier and our constitution a +2 modifier. So you may be wondering, why not strength, especially if we're going to be a fighter? And that's because of our feat. Our feat, which will be athlete, will give us a +1 to strength, making it so the modifier now becomes a +3 as well, making our stats 16, 16, 13, 8, 12, and 8 at level 1, which is pretty fucking good. Yeah, our intelligence and charisma is not the best, but it could be a lot worse, especially if you rolled. But that's just my personal opinion. I really don't think you need intelligence and charisma if you're playing as a Belmont. Especially because you're not going to go Eldritch Knight. I'm telling you that now. So we got our class, we got our race, and we got our stats. Let's talk our skills. So the skills I recommend, you'll get religion for being an acolyte. If not, take religion for a folk hero. Then on top of that, athletics, insight, perception, and survival. All fairly solid things a Belmont would probably have. You could argue they would also have insight and maybe history. But I feel more like religion. You get that regardless from if you take acolyte. Athletics, because it just fits them well, because you're going to be running around all the time. Acrobatics, you could say that too. They do lots of flips and shit. Then, you also take perception and survival, because perception is going to give you that nice bonus to your passive perception as well, and helps keep you alive. Perception is one of those god skills in D&D. It needs to be used more often. So as a Belmont, you need to raise it up. So, now that we have our fighter skills, let's talk about what else you get. I'm talking your equipment, son. What do you get from your equipment? And honestly, it's pretty simple. You get, starting off, leather armor, a longbow, and arrows. You do not take chainmail. Because as a Belmont, unfortunately, one downside is, at least how I'm going to play the Belmont, and if you want to as well, they will not use heavy armor. Almost all the Belmonts in Predicted have been shown in in leather armor for the most part, with the exception of one. So sorry to say, but you're going to be using light armor. As for your martial weapon that you get, going fighter, you're going to take a whip, and then it's no shield, you're going to take a second martial weapon, and you're going to take a flail. Then, instead of light crossbow with bolts, you're going to take a hand axe and an explorer's pack. So there we go. We got our equipment as a Belmont. Now, we're going to talk about the first 5 levels for the Belmont Clan. Alright, so starting level 1, you'll have 12 hit points. Let's go ahead, level up, become fighter level 2. We'll just take the average for now. That gets us to 20 hit points. I mean, I guess we do get our we'll heal 1d10 as a bonus action. And you also do get a fighting style. The fighting style you will take is dueling. And that is important because since you're using a whip, whip's not going to do a lot of damage by itself, so you got to buff it up. A whip's only a d4, but it has better range. So we got to buff it up by giving it an additional +2, giving it a +5 in total. Which is pretty fucking disgusting. That's pretty gross for a level 2 person getting a +5. Then, to level up again, and oh shit, we get our archetype. Now, I thought about this for a while, and the best one I could think of is a Battle Master. And the 3 maneuvers you will take as Battle Master are Riposte. You can use a reaction when missed by a melee attack to make a melee attack back and deals priority die extra damage. Precise Strike and Lunge. And my reasoning for that is Lunge makes it so your whip hits even fucking farther and does more damage. Riposte makes it so your whip does, oh look at that, more damage. And Precise Strike means your whip will hit more often. All of those combined together means you're going to be hitting more often, or hitting even harder with a fucking whip. That's gross. That's real gross. And I love it. So those are the 3 superiority, fucking whatever you want to call them, superiorities, maneuvers you want to take. Then, you level up again, you're now level 4. You'll take another level in fighter. However, now it becomes a little more interesting. Because you could take a +2 to one of your stats, which is not a bad option by any means. But instead, we're going to take another feat. And this time, the feat we're going to take is Alert. You don't grant advantage versus hidden creatures, so hidden creatures don't get advantage on you. You can never be surprised, and you gain +5 to initiative. So you'll be going first in turn order more often, because you get an innate +5. You're never fucking surprised. You're always ready for whatever is coming at you, as a Belmont should be. and hidden creatures never get advantage on you, making it so you're harder to kill as a Belmont. So yeah, pretty solid there. So yeah, there's the stats, there's the build. Now, last but not least, we need our motivation. Our motivation is pretty simple. You're getting Vampire Killer back. You're on a hunt to get your legendary whip back, because the whip has been stolen from your family. Then, you're going to take that whip and murder some fucking vampires, demons, unholy abominations, whatever. You're here to get your magical whip back, which your DM can make, or use the homebrew version, which I'll put a link in the description for, and it will fit the party pretty well after that. You're traveling with the party to help you kill those disgusting abominations, the mankind. And they're helping you do it. So yeah, that's the build for Simon Belmont and everyone else. Or just the Belmont Family Clan. Belmont Family Clan? Belmont Family. I've been your host, GSmith64. If you want another one of these videos, hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time.